Hello there, good afternoon, and welcome to Football Domain. Yes, today is another exciting episode on Football Domain on your number one online television channel, CTV. As the name of the show implies, Football Domain is the show where we get to discuss everything related to football. I am still yours truly, Wisdom Chimoba, also known as the Principal Fin. Well, today I've just come to give you some interesting updates coming from the world of football. We know that this is the weekend, and when it's weekend, it's all about football coming from the Premier League, the La Liga, the Serie A, even the Bundesliga, as well as the Ligue 1, the Primera Liga. You know, it's all football in the entirety of Europe. So I've just come to give you updates to let you in on the latest scoreline for the fixtures going down. So we're going to go for a very quick break. Once we return, we'll be giving you updates in a bit. All right, welcome back to you, our dear beloved esteemed listeners. You are still locked on to Football Domain on your number one online television channel, CTV, and I still remain yours truly, the Principal Fin, Wisdom Chimoba. Yes, so before we went on the break, I said the package we have for you on the show today is just football updates, because some games are currently going on. Talking about the Premier League and the La Liga, as well as other leagues, even down to the CAF Champions League, yes, the qualification, all of these. Well, the first game that went down in the Premier League saw Manchester United lost by 2-1 to Brighton and Hove Albion at the Amex Stadium. That game gave us quite something to talk about, especially when it comes to the offside and all of that. But that is not our conversation or our focus for today. But I'm just going to give you updates coming from the Premier League. Some games are currently going on as we speak. In fact, we are seeing some interesting scorelines as regard, the match is being played for Crystal Palace. Right now, it's 86 minutes in that game against West Ham United, and they're trailing at home by 2-0. Goals coming in for West Ham United in the person of Thomas Susek, as well as Jarrod Bowen for West Ham United. And then we have Fulham leading Leicester City by 2-1 right now. It's 83 minutes. And then Manchester City, who have seen the return of Ilkay Gundogan, who, by the way, has been introduced by Pep in the game, leading Ipswich Town at the Etihad by 3-1. And then Southampton and Nottingham Forest, 85 minutes in that game, still 1-0 in favor of Nottingham Forest. And then for Tottenham Hotspur, quite a surprising scoreline. They're really coming out guns blazing this season, smashing Everton by 4-0 as it stands, still 83 minutes with about 7 minutes left to play. And then at that time, who knows if they can even better the scoreline, or Everton can, spare their blushes and reduce the deficit. Well, we'll wait to find out. But one more game will still go down in the Premier League, and that is talking about the biggest game of the weekend. Aston Villa taking on Arsenal. That game would be by 9:30 today, 9:30 tonight. So Aston Villa taking on Arsenal. Unai Emery up against his former side, and Mikel Arteta, who we know that they are going for the league this season. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they don't get to be disappointed come the end of the season. But moving on, going straight to the La Liga, it's Osasuna right now taking on Mallorca. It's 40 minutes played in that game, 0-0. Later on, we are going to see Barcelona take on Athletic Club. Lamine Yamal will be coming up against his former buddy, or his best friend from the Euros, in the person of Nico Williams. They will be going head-to-head. Barcelona taking on Athletic Club later today. And then we'll see Espanyol take on Real Sociedad, and Getafe will take on Real Vallecano, or Rayo Vallecano as the name is properly pronounced. Before we move over to other leagues in Europe, let's talk about the CAF Champions League qualification. Yes, some games have gone down in the CAF Champions League qualification, while others are currently going on, and we are still going to witness other games later on today. But the games that have went down already, CBSA defeated SC Villa. On aggregate, though the game ended 1-0, but on aggregate, CBSA has made it through. And then for Almeric rather, as the name is properly pronounced, and they defeated Al Nasser by 2-0. For Red Arrows, they came out victorious over Big Bullets by 2-0 as well. And then currently, as we speak, Galaxy is taking on African Stars, and that game is 85 minutes, 1-0 in favor of the home team in Galaxy. And then we have Sagrada Esperanca taking on St. Louis Suns United, leading that game by 1-0 after 80 minutes. All right, and then moving on, 50 minutes I should say. And then for later on, we're going to see APR FC take on Azam FC. Young Africans would also take on Vital, and then Pyramids FC will take on JKU. So that is just some of the fixtures that would go down in the CAF Champions League. But moving back to Europe, in the Serie A, we have some interesting games lined up in the Serie A today. It's Parma who will be taking on AC Milan. Yes, Parma will take on AC Milan. Udinese will take on Lazio. For Udinese, we know our own Maduka Okoye in goal for them as usual. And then for Lazio, we have a certain Bashiru who we are hoping is only the number 7 jersey for Lazio, Dele Bashiru, and hopefully we get to see both of them in action. I'm talking about Maduka Okoye and Dele Bashiru for Lazio and Udinese respectively. And then we'll have Inter Milan who will take on Leeds. Inter Milan, we know that they are really blazing hot from last season, champions of the Italian Serie A, and they will be hoping to maintain that same momentum. And then finally we'll have Monza who will take on Genoa. Now moving over to the Bundesliga, the German Bundesliga, some games have gone down. In fact, almost all of their games have been concluded with just one more game left to play. In fact, that game promises to be one that would give us goals. Yes, because of the two teams involved. That is Borussia Dortmund will be taking on Eintracht Frankfurt later today. For other games that went down, Augsburg, Werder Bremen ended 2-0. And Freiburg defeated VfB Stuttgart, which was kind of surprising because we know Stuttgart, coming into this season from last season, making it into the Champions League, putting up impressive performances. We expected something better from Stuttgart, but it is what it is. They lost by 3-1 to Freiburg away from home. And then Hoffenheim defeated Holstein Kiel by 3-2. Mainz and Union Berlin ended 1-0. And then RB Leipzig defeated FC Bochum by 1-0. So that is how it stands in the German Bundesliga. And then moving over to the French Ligue 1, where Paris Saint-Germain yesterday defeated the opponent by 6-0. That was quite a resounding performance by Paris Saint-Germain, who have scored 10 goals in 2 games without a certain Kylian Mbappe. Luis Enrique finally seems to have found his mojo, and his team is up and running. A certain João Neves, who has been the magician for them in terms of the performances in midfield. But let's leave Paris Saint-Germain, their old news, their yesterday's story. Coming over to today, it is Lyon taking on Monaco right now. It's almost halftime in that game, 45 plus 3 minutes currently being played, and it's 0-0 as we speak. And then Lille taking on Angers. That is the next game that would go down later on today. And then Saint-Etienne would take on Le Havre. Those are the games that would go down in the French Ligue 1 later on today, after Lyon and Monaco, which, like I said earlier, is still 0-0. And moving over to the Dutch Eredivisie, we have NEC Nijmegen who will take on PEC Zwolle. Yes, Zwolle, we know they are kind of a traditional Dutch side. Let's hope they get to perform. And then for Almere City, they will be taking on PSV Eindhoven. They are really, making the Dutch Eredivisie their own, really dominating, talking about PSV. And then finally for today, we'll see Breda take on FC Utrecht. So that is that. But before we go for the ticket, guys, the white paper guys, yes, just to let you in on this one for the Portugal League, that is talking about the Primeira Liga. We have Sasa Pia losing right now to Santa Clara by a goal to nil after 61 minutes. Later on, we have FC Porto take on Rio Ave, and then Benfica would take on Estrela de Amorada, and then finally we had Famalicão take on Boavista. Those are the games that would go down for the Portuguese league, talking about the Primeira Liga. And then in Turkey, and we have Sivasspor who would take on Eyüpspor, and then Bodrum FK will take on Konyaspor. And finally for the Saudi Professional League, and we have Al Khulud who will take on Al Ittihad, and then Al Khulud, or Al Akdud rather, will take on Al Hilal, who have made up their mind to be a menace to Al Nassr, especially when it comes to cup games and final. And finally we have Al Shabab take on Al Ettifaq. So guys, those are the games that would be going down today for the Premier League. Like I said earlier, if you missed out on that, as it stands right now, in fact, the games are almost done. Tottenham Hotspur leading Everton by 4 goals to nil. Southampton trailing by a goal to nil at home to Forest, and then Manchester City still 3-1 ahead over Ipswich Town at the Etihad. Fulham currently leading Leicester City by 2 goals to 1. By the way, Emil Smith-Rowe was on the score sheet for Fulham, and Alex Iwobi was the second goal scorer. And finally, West Ham United leading by 2 goals to nil away from home, leading Crystal Palace by 2 goals to nil. And United, the first game of today that went down, United lost by 1 goals to 2 to Brighton and Hove Albion. So guys, that is a wrap of everything we have on the show. It's the weekend edition of Football Domain, so we just started to give you updates. For those of you that are into the white paper things, please do not forget to do it responsibly. And for all of the games I've given you, you can do well to put your money on those games and be smart about it. Well, Manchester City seem to have added the 4th goal, but I think we're still waiting confirmation for that goal. It's 4-1 right now as City speak, and yay, it's the man that you cannot deny. You just can't keep him out. He's gotten his hat-trick. Talking about the beast, Erling Haaland. Guys, this is how we wrap up today's show. Do not forget, guys, whatever you do, try to stay healthy, and try to stay sporty field and be active. Do not forget that this show is sponsored by the Adama Sule Foundation. And guys, Proverbs 4 verse 7, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and in all that getting, get understanding. This is where we draw the curtain. Goodbye. Do have a beautiful and splendid weekend.